Dear boomers, people can starve from a lack of self realization as much as they can from a lack of bread, said Richard Wright. You can say, starving for self realization is the deepest human hunger. You can think about a man sitting alone in a restaurant, eating but staring blankly at his phone, or a young woman staring out of the office window, deep in thought, or an elderly man alone in the park looking at an old photograph. Hunger. It's one of the most basic forces of survival. We eat to live, but there is another kind of hunger, one that bread cannot satisfy. The hunger for meaning, the hunger for self realization. We can think about what happens when we ignore this hunger, when we live without discovering who we truly are. And that doesn't mean you have to stop eating to do this. There are so many thinkers who ascribe to this kind of thought. You can certainly think about Carl Jung, Thich Nhat Hanh, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Ram Dass, Marcus Aurelius, and Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda. People thinking, journaling, painting, traveling. Self realization is not just a philosophical concept, it is the moment we stop seeking to understand ourselves. We begin to feel a deep kind of emptiness. It is the moment we feel this hunger that no material wealth can satisfy. Carl Jung had his theory and concept of individuation, becoming the fullest version of oneself. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the top of the pyramid, is self-actualization, is where fulfillment is found. But so many people do not reach that height because they are in this lower vibrational field of revenge, unforgiveness, cycling of thoughts of retribution. Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor who discovered that meaning, not comfort, is the key to survival. You can look at a split screen, one person chasing external success but feeling empty, or one pursuing inner growth and feeling peace. Self realization is not about having everything, it's about knowing who you are and living in alignment with your true self. There are consequences for self starvation. You can think about people scrolling endlessly on their phone, office workers staring at their screens in exhaustion, and then somebody who has everything: money, fame, status, but is visibly unhappy. You can think about people in a retirement home, a group of elders who are some people are engaged in conversation, playing games, laughing a lot, or whereas others stare blankly at a TV. What happens when we ignore this hunger for self realization? The symptoms are everywhere: depression, addiction, endless endless distractions, and a gnawing sense of emptiness. We can think about examples. Robin Williams, he was a comedic genius who brought millions of people joy, but struggled with deep personal pain. Or Anthony Bourdain, a man who seemingly had everything: travel, food, and culture, yet struggled with existential void. And, everybody suffers from existential void throughout their life at some point. And then think about the corporate worker, a person who follows the script of life, goes to college, gets a job, gets married, but wakes up one day feeling lost. And that can be a problem in a marriage. And then there's the retired boomer, someone who spends decades working but now feels purposeless, realizing they never truly pursued their passions. But think about going to a bookstore and picking up a random book and discovering a new path. Has that ever happened to you? It has definitely happened to me. And there's been numerous times that has happened to me. How about an elderly woman taking up painting for the first time, like my aunt did at 97, and a man quitting his high-paying but soul-crushing job to work with animals? Many people believe that suffering is caused by external circumstances, but often it's the absence of purpose that creates the deepest pain. So if we know this hunger exists, how do we satisfy it? Here are 5 paths to self-realization that anybody can take. Well, I have this book called Walden's Pond by Henry David Thoreau. He left society to live in the woods and discovered his true self. Or you can take up your journaling practice and put on a candle and journal by candlelight. Or a Buddhist, you can take up meditation, which is probably the most beautiful solution for existential pain. But it's hard to sit there for as long as it might take. So meditation can take many forms. You don't just have to sit. You can move as you sit. You can walk as you meditate. And you can lie down and meditate. Vincent van Gogh is an example, who found self-realization in painting even as the world dismissed him. And that's not downplay the fact that he was one of the more depressed person on the planet. And you can think about a street painter passionately painting, or an elderly woman taking a pottery class for the first time. Ram Dass left behind a successful career in psychology to pursue enlightenment in India. Or think about somebody practicing Tai Chi in the early morning light, a group of people meditating at sunrise. And this actually brings up the point of having a morning routine that sets you up for the day so that there's no allowance for this angst to come through you, to feel hopeless. Because the more you meditate, the more you practice your choice for spiritual practice, you feel so much better as the day goes on. You are not allowing discomfort to plague your life. And it's good to break free of societal expectations. Maya Angelou overcame countless barriers to becoming a legendary writer and activist. Sometimes people go back to college in their 70s. Sometimes a man can quit a soul-draining job to start another business. But these things are examples of self-realization, and we need to realize that self-realization is as important as eating food. And in the autobiography of a yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda outlined people who didn't eat at all, who actually lived by the sunlight of gratitude. There's going to be a video that shows up right here. Take a look, and I will see you again. Bye-bye.